Hi guys, so I think this is going to work now. I've played about with it quite a bit and I think I've nailed it, so we're going to try this out and see what happens. What I've got in front of me here is what is going to be the first instalment of the big Bretonnian battalion box to battlefield project. I'm going to do the Pegasus Knight first. This is what I've got in front of me here, and assuming that this is working properly, I'm just going to blast ahead with this and see what happens. I've got everything I need here. Let's just get it in, get everything in shot. I've got my clippers to get it off the sprue. I've got my sharp knife to tidy up the edges and the mould lines. I have the base, obviously the flying base, the wings, the model itself, and some Revel plastic glue. This is the stuff that has the pin type needle, I guess, nib on it. I don't know if this is blocked up or not, but I'll show you a trick with that when we get to it. But of course, first off, I'm going to have to get this off the sprue. Before that, I just want to give you a quick look at some of the detail. Got the wings there, extremely detailed, very nice looking. Then we have, I don't need to look at the bases, but on the actual sprue you've got the Pegasus itself, which is in two halves, much like the Bretonnian Knights. Again, very nicely detailed. You've got 3 head options. Give this in camera shot. One with a Pegasus, one with a winged lion, and one with a sort of serpenty dragon on. Then you've got a couple of, hang on, what's that? Oh, there's a third shield, but it's backwards there. These are the shoulder guards that go on the shoulder, the torso. 2 options for the actual Pegasus's head, or the Pegasi head, or however it's pronounced. Oh, you can see there I sliced the tip of my finger. It's not healing properly, it's bled a couple of times, so you might see some blood in this. And then you've got the legs of the Pegasus rider there too. So, those are the components. Those are the components, and the first thing we're going to do is take things off the sprue. What I like to do when I'm taking things off the sprue is to leave myself a little bit of room. Yeah, I can get this in shot there. Where it doesn't matter so much here because these are going to be in the model, but where the extra bit is attached to the actual model, what I like to do is leave a bit of room so that, I'm going to cut it off there, so there's a little bit left on there that I can then trim off with a knife or a file or whatever. I prefer to use a knife. There we go, as you can see there, a little bit extra left on. That's the main reason for that, is because it's very easy when you're trimming things like this. Cut it too close, you'll actually cut into the model, and you don't want to do that because you'll lose detail or damage some of it in some way that you don't particularly want. So there's the wings, and I'm just going to go through and trim all these bits off quickly. I'm going to trim off all of the heads here and all of the shoulder guards, even though I haven't decided which one I'm going to use yet. I'll do that in a moment. Yeah, you want to be careful of things like that, pinging off into the distance. And yeah, it's whenever you're doing stuff like this, make it easy on yourself by not trying to get in with awkward angles with your clippers. Turn things around, flip them over, get the best angle you can so that you run the least risk possible of damaging the miniature, because as we all know, Games Workshop stuff is incredibly expensive, so you want to keep it as good as possible. Anyway, so there's everything off the sprue. There's that done, so we're done with the clippers. Now I'm going to start taking my hobby knife here. I call it a hobby knife, it's actually, I believe, a scalpel blade. But yeah, so heads, I think we're going to go with that one that's reaching forwards, so we don't need that piece. So we'll tidy this one up first. See, on most of Games Workshop's pieces, there's likely to be just the one mould line that runs down the centre. See down the neck there. You can't see because I'm holding it too far away. Yeah, you see that line. I know this is on the flat piece, it's just easier to show it here. There's that, and all I do to tidy those up is take my blade and just slide it across, pull it across, put it with a little bit of pressure, and just repeatedly draw it across. It's a bit like using a file, but I feel like I've got a little bit more control over the knife, and that gives it a nice smooth finish. And we'll do the same along the front of the neck here. Obviously with a knife blade, this one is a flat blade, so when I'm working on curved surfaces like the front of this neck, I've got a bit more control over the angle at which I hold the knife. It just works well for me. And then just again draw it across and turn it slowly as I'm doing it, so that the blade follows the curve, follows the contour of the miniature. Obviously if you're using a file, you can do exactly the same thing. I just prefer using a knife blade because I feel like I've got more control over it, and doing it this way I don't end up with flat areas that aren't supposed to be there. When you get to somewhere like this, on the nose here, yeah, I can get this to focus again. Focus, okay. On the nose there, on that piece of armour, you can see there's a little bit sticking out. This is a bit more awkward, but again, just by using the knife, carefully slice it like that, and then it comes right off. And then using the knife still, just drawing it over it repeatedly, over and over again, just to give a nice smooth finish. There we go. Just a little bit more to take off on there. There you go, that piece is done. Yeah, So I'm just going to breeze through these now and trim off all these excess pieces. If you do use a scalpel blade, do make sure that you're careful not to slice the tips of your fingers off. I didn't actually do that with a scalpel, it was something else, but it's very easy to cut yourself. We're not indestructible, even if we think we are. Just chopping the last bit of the sprue connection out there. This might not be the most interesting video to sit and watch, because unfortunately I'm not going to be able to edit out all of these long boring bits, I suppose, and I don't have a great deal to say to fill the time either. Otherwise I might read you some stuff from the army book or something, but I need to be paying attention to this. It does get annoying sometimes when they put these connections on right in the middle of, for example here on this piece, where they connected it to the sprue is right on the kneecap, which is supposed to be a smooth, shiny armour plate. So to get it smooth you have to be very careful. Be a bit of a pain in the ass sometimes. Obviously when this guy is built, I will then do a separate video of the painting. It's not going to be the same as this, in that I'm not going to record the entire process. There we go. It will be just possibly, because there's not many tips really that I think I could give you guys that you don't know already, and I'm certainly not an authority when it comes to painting, so I may keep the painting tips to a minimum, or I may decide to do a full-length video watching me paint this start to finish. But quite often I don't have time or the energy or the focus to do a model all in one sitting, and I'm not the fastest worker in the world either, so sometimes it takes me quite a while to get something done. Now on this lance, there's a mould line that runs down the full length of the lance on either side, which I could leave, and the chances are in the painting process it would hide it mostly, but I prefer to spend plenty of time getting things prepared properly so that they're in as good a condition as possible before I start painting. And yeah, the idea for this army, for this project, is not to paint things just so that they are tabletop quality. What I want to do is, by the end of this, have a very, very impressive looking army that you can look close at and not be disappointed. I think when it comes to the large block of men-at-arms, I may relax that a little bit and not go to quite so much detail on the men-at-arms, just because there's going to be a lot of them, which unfortunately is a necessity for the army that I'm building. And at the minute, I think what the plan is to have one unit of 15, at least to start with anyway. Obviously I may add to this in the future, probably will add to this in the future, but to start off with 15 Knights of the Realm, who are going to be all individually painted in their own colours to make them all look unique. Oh, where's it gone? There it is. Yeah, which one of these am I going to use? There's 3. Get these. You saw these already on the sprue. Three shoulder guards here. This one in the centre looks to be the most ornate, but this one will give me more space to do some freehand if I was going to do some freehand. And given that it's a Pegasus Knight, I think we'll go with that one so that I can do some freehand work on his shoulder guard. So we'll get rid of those. I say get rid of them, I mean just put them to the side. They'll be going in the bits box to be used at some other time. In fact, just take that last bit off there. I think, given that the shield is blank, just show you this guy to give you the example of what I'm about to say. This Bretonnian man-at-arms, this is the warden for the unit, and as you can see, I've put one of the shoulder guards from the Knight of the Realm box on his shield, just to give him, to make him stand out, make him look a bit special. So what I'm thinking is, that I can use, which one should I use? We'll go with this one. Decisions. We'll use this one. so I'm going to mount this on the shield just to make the shield look more ornate, which yes does mean that I won't be doing as much freehand on the shield, but I think it will look good. I will have to smooth it down a bit on the back to make it sit better on the shield though. I know I've said this already guys, but if you are using a scalpel blade or a knife blade at any time really, but when doing things like this, make sure you're always paying attention and always be careful, because it doesn't take much. You know, a split second lapse of concentration and you can do yourself some serious damage. And yeah, not being able to use that middle finger is causing me a bit of a nuisance. Trying to trim this down without interfering with the stud details. I think that'll do. I guess a detailed tip: when you're placing the blade edge on the model, you don't want to keep it straight, vertical. You want to tip it over slightly towards the direction that you're going to be drawing the blade. If you tip it this way and push it that way, it's going to cut into the model. So you tip it towards the direction you're going to be drawing the blade, and it'll keep it running nicely across the surface. It won't catch on things and dig in where you don't expect it to. Okay, heads, what are we looking at here? We've got the Pegasus head. Or is that no, I think they're ears rather than a horn. Maybe that's just a horse head. He's got a bit of a crown thing going on there. We've got a serpent. That looks pretty cool. And we've got a, oh, it's not a lion, it's a griffin. It's got a eagle's head with the lion's mane and the lion's body. So what should we go for here? I think, seeing as he's going to be excuse me, we'll go for the griffin just because he looks mean. So just over these mold lines. I have been trying to work out some army lists for when I get to have my first game, and I've been working out 1,000, 2,000 and 3,000 point lists, and none of them actually have I've factored in Pegasus Knights, just because I'm not planning on getting any more, and having just the one. I believe there need to be a unit of 3 or more, so I would have to get at least 2 more Pegasus Knights to be able to field them as a unit. But I can field characters on Pegasus, or on Pegasi, on a Pegasus. So that is going to be a possibility, and what I'm going to do in order to give myself that option in the future is I'm not going to glue the rider in place on the Pegasus. I'm actually going to magnetise him so that I can swap him out. One issue though is what I was planning was, if I just grab her here, this is one of the damsels that I got separately. She is unfortunately fine cast, but I was planning on magnetising her so that she could be mounted on a Pegasus if I chose. And I'm not quite sure how she's going to sit on the model yet, but one of the things to note here is that the Pegasus itself has this saddle, which the damsel horses, the light horses, whatever they are, they don't have that, so she would sit naturally on there, but I may have to trim off these pieces of the saddle so that she can fit and sit on there without being out of place. But that we'll deal with that after we've dealt with the construction here. What's that piece? Yeah, so just gonna the model lines off these. There we go. If I drift off camera at all, I apologise. My laptop is actually behind me. This camera's mounted up on on a jig by itself, balanced delicately to try and get it in a good position to be able to film this. Just a quick note on the camera, I'd like to thank Chung from Wargames Consortium for providing me with the camera, and although it has been a major pain in the arse, I'm very grateful to him for providing me with it, because it would have been a long time before I was able to get one for myself, and hopefully the technical difficulties have been worked out now to the point that I can actually make practical use of this camera. So assuming that this is working and I'm not just talking to myself, I'm going to have to just show a finished model in another video instead of a build video. But yeah, I think the video quality is not quite as high as I'd like it to be. I can't record in HD. Some of the features of the camera aren't available to me because of software issues. But even so, I think the quality, especially the focus, is going to make a huge difference to the way these videos look and how much detail you can actually see. And the sound quality as well, so vast improvement, and that's all thanks to, as I said, Chung from Wargames Consortium. If you don't know who he is, then you should definitely look him up, and yeah, I don't think you'll be disappointed by what you find. He's a bit of a comedian sometimes, and puts up quite a lot of videos. Obviously, like quite a few people, including myself, he does have a Facebook page, and if you can find him, you can find his Facebook page, I'm sure. Okay, onto the wings. Yes, now the wings are going to be interesting for me to paint because I've never painted wings before, and I believe the only feathers I've painted are the couple that I added to Detlef's Deathwing chaplain that I did for him. So that's going to be an experience. I'm not sure yet how I'm going to tackle it, but as I said, that will be dealt with in a separate video. This is just the build video, or at least that's the plan. The size of this video is a lot smaller than when I tried to record with this camera previously, and I guess I don't know, I didn't check actually how much space I had on the laptop, so I don't know actually. This, just to forewarn you guys, this video may cut off unexpectedly if I run out of space on my laptop. It'll automatically stop recording, obviously, so I'll apologise in advance if that happens. So chances are I won't realise, at least not straight away, because as I said, my laptop's behind me. But, yeah, I've only got this far because I'm just believing that this is working and hoping that when I come to review it and try to upload it, that I'm right. Okay, so that's all I need the scalpel for. So we've got all our pieces here that I need. Now some people, tidy that up a bit, some people prefer to paint things separately before they put them together. I prefer to build things and then paint them, and I understand the concept of things, you know, you've got this lance that's going to be making it difficult to get around, and you've got this shield that'll be, you've got the body here, you've got the shield on, it's going to be making it difficult to get in, to get the details. But the theory I work on is that once the shield's on, if I can see it, I can get a brush to it. So that's that's my theory. That's why I don't paint things before I put them together. Obviously each model has to be judged on its own merit, so I may come across a model in the future that requires me to paint it before I glue certain pieces together, but we'll wait and see. It hasn't come up yet. This Anyone who plays Bretonnian is probably aware of this problem. I'm not sure how well that's coming up, but if you can see on the back here where the two halves of the rear of the horse meet, there is a gap that can be a nightmare to file down or trim down with a knife, just because it can be quite significant. This looks to be, just check again, yeah, on this model I will be able to just flatten that down, but on some of the regular night horses it can be sort of too significant and actually require some filling, like a little blob of green stuff or some kind of modelling putty like milliput, or as I say, green stuff. There we go. So now we're going to start the build. Obviously doing some dry fitting before you start gluing things together is a good idea, just so you know how things are going to fit and if something's going to impact on anything else. The wings are going to be the last thing that I attach, so we'll glue the two halves, then the head, then the wings. The rider obviously is going to be separate, so we don't need to worry about that, and the wings actually look as though they fit quite snugly, so there's not going to be tricky. I'm just wondering if there is a need to use any green stuff on these wings, just to get them to fit more neatly. But I think they'll be okay. So first things first, we have our glue, and this is brilliant because it gives you so much control over where the glue is going, and it allows you to just see how close I can get this. Allows you to put the glue along, and yeah. So this is blocked up, which is a problem because the glue's not coming out. But an easy way to fix this, and obviously all of the standard safety recommendations when dealing with fire and flammable substances come into play here. This is a flammable substance, this is fire, so do be very careful not to burn yourself. But a very good trick for getting this out, because this is a metal pin, a metal needle, the glue that gets up in here and dries, that blocks it, can be got out by simply burning it off. And it doesn't smell good, and it's a good idea to take a piece of tissue or something afterwards and just wipe it, just because there will be some soot, some residue from the burnt glue left on it. So now this should be free flowing. See if I can let you see close up what's going on here. I say it allows you a lot of control. You might see my hands are trembling a bit. Not particularly helpful. I'm going to put a bit in there and a bit in there. And squash them together. And as you squash them together, sometimes with these horses they do require a bit of sort of pushing about just to get the two halves to sit snugly together. With plastic glue, it's a good idea to hold it for a bit longer than you hold super glue. It does take a little bit longer, but the process does start to work pretty quickly, and I'm not sure exactly how it works, the science behind it, but basically it melts the two pieces of plastic, and then they as they dry, as the glue dries, they bond together as though they are one piece. So it's not like super glue which sticks one piece to the other piece, because sometimes you guys might know this, probably do if you've used super glue, it can make things quite brittle. Whereas the plastic glue allows for a small amount of flexing, much like the plastic itself. So once this has dried, I'm not going to do it yet, I will do it probably off camera after this video is done, just to make sure the glue is dry and set properly. There will be some lines, like these bits are going to be trimmed off anyway, so they're not so important, but for example the collar here, there will be, I don't know if I'm going to be able to get that in shot for you. Anyway, there will be a line between where that links together, so I'll have to go back and just slide the blade over that a couple of times, and yeah, so we'll do the wings now. Hold on, just need to down for a second. Okay, there we go. Yes, another point about, just reminded myself, another point about the plastic glue is that I don't know if it's classed as being sort of particularly dangerous, but it does melt the glue. It does give off a significant amount of fumes. So when you're doing this, when you're using the glue, I recommend, oh, that's the wrong way. I would recommend that you use it in a well ventilated area, just to stop the fumes from building up, because they will affect you. Obviously different people get affected sort of to varying degrees, but I know myself that it's caught me by surprise sometimes. I've been doing some gluing and not realised, as I said, how much it had affected me until I sort of got up and tried to do something else. So yeah, these wings aren't very heavy at all, so the plastic glue will hold them relatively quickly, whereas if they were sort of thicker or made out of a different kind of plastic or resin, being heavier, they would pull themselves off. Which this one isn't sitting quite as I'd like it, so we'll just fix that. And I must say this is although I don't, yeah, the idea of Pegasus or Pegasi, I do like the idea of them, but to me it's a little, the concept is a little bit like Space Marines in 40k riding motorbikes. It just doesn't fit in my mind at all. Just seems entirely, you know, this huge power armoured Space Marine jumping on a motorbike. It doesn't quite fit for me. And heavily armoured knights riding a pegasus, I find it difficult to believe. And I know it's fantasy, but I still find it difficult to believe that a heavily armoured knight would not impact the Pegasus' ability to fly, to get off the ground. But yeah, as I say, it is fantasy, and I do like the idea. And in game terms, they appear to be pretty effective and worthwhile. So yeah, well, there's the Pegasus. I can't balance him, so what I'm going to have to do here is I'll just put the lid back on the glue for a moment. There we go. I need one of these off of here, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to hold this in my mouth so I won't talk for a minute. And then I'll just balance him on his peg there. There we go. I don't want to force this because obviously I don't want to separate the two halves. But anyway, there we go. He's a little bit wobbly there, but that's fine. He can stand there while I glue the rider together. Okay, so first things first, we'll glue the legs together. And I'll leave those for a moment while I do this, and we're going to glue. First we'll do this bit first. Yeah, this, I was going to use this piece and use it effectively to emboss the shield, but because it's curved on the back I will have to effectively file it down a little so that it fits better on the shield. And there probably is, in fact I'm almost certain there will be a better or safer way of doing this, but I am just going to be a little bit reckless here and do this in my fingers. So I would recommend you seek out a better way of doing this, because this obviously a very small piece in my fingers, the blade's very close, not very safe practice at all, so I wouldn't recommend you do it this way, but this is the way I'm doing it. Doing Okay, so I think that will do. It will leave a small area at the top that is sticking out slightly, but that it's very small and can be easily filled in with a little bit of green stuff. So then to attach it to the shield, now you'll notice I haven't got any to hand actually. That's a bit of a pain. Yeah, here we go. This is a piece of a knight sprue, and you'll notice that these shields, there are variations of the shields. Some of them have a flat top. These all have a flat top actually, but anyway, this just as an example, this is a standard shield from the knight sprue. So some of the shields have a flat top, some have a curved top, and it's the same with the shields, the shoulder guards as well. Some of them have a flat top, some of them have a curved top. This is a curved top shield, and this is a curved top shoulder guard. It just little things like that just help things fit together a little better. Like you'll see that this which is actually going to be the shoulder guard, and this which is the piece that I'm adding to the shield, this one's a flat top, this one's got a curved top. I don't know if they're... Anyway, that's the way it is. So I'll attach this to the shield. I'm just going to put a bit of on there. I'm not going to overdo it because I don't want this to leak out and spread all over the flat surface of the shield too much. And drop it as close to where I want it to be as possible, so I don't have to move it around much. There we go, I think that'll do. So yeah, there you go. Just gives it a little bit extra, just makes it look a little bit more ornate, and I think looks quite effective. So we have the head I can just put on straight away because that's going to be looking straight forwards anyway. He's not going to be looking to the side or anything, just because it fits better straight on. Oh, that's not sitting properly. There's a bit of an issue there with the this particular torso has a necklace around it with a shield pendant on, and that is catching on the underside of the helmet, which makes it a bit of an issue. But obviously trimming that down would be an issue too. But anyway, that's as it is. Now we're going to attach the shield to the torso. As if you dry fit the shield to the torso, you'll see that it connects with, it sits, sort of tucks itself in quite nicely there. They fit well together. just going to put a little bit in here so it connects to the hand, and also going to put a little bit further across this way so that it'll glue to the forearm and the elbow as well, just to give it a bit more security there. Oh no, that's falling off. There's one downside to the plastic glue, is that it does stay soft for a while. So as you see there, I've run into an issue with it staying soft for too long. And that's just me being clumsy and yeah, perhaps doing things in an awkward order. I guess perhaps gluing the torso to the legs may be better, but the issue with that then is the shield. Obviously when the torso is on the legs, the shield can be in the way of the knee, and also if you put the torso at the wrong angle, when the legs are in place on the mount, the shield can impact the mount. So we'll just drop the legs on there now, just to see, and just looking at this. Yep, the shield, this shield in particular, drops down. We'll see if we can pick this up without dropping it. If you can see there, the shield drops down, tucks in just behind the wing of the Pegasus there, which means that the torso actually needs to be at a certain angle in order for that to fit. So there's a bit of playing about there, and that is one of the benefits to using plastic glue over super glue, is that you do have that little bit of mobility. When you stuck things together, they start gripping each other, so they hold themselves in place, but you still have that little bit of mobility where if things don't fit exactly where you need them to be, you can alter them slightly. So just drop the back on the stand there. I'll leave the legs on as we glue the torso to the legs. Excuse my shaky hands. So we've got this guy to sit nicely on the Pegasus. Torso is sitting snugly, shields there, we're all good. Now of course the only thing left to glue onto this piece is the lance and the shoulder guard, which will go on the lance arm. Excuse me. But of course the torso and the legs need a moment. So what I'm going to do, just while those are setting, so that I don't disturb them too much, there we go. I'm going to trim this lovely lady. Mind him out of the way slightly. I'm going to trim this lovely lady off the sprue. It's already disconnected there. There is, as always, a mess to deal with because it's fine cast, and they enjoy making a mess for us to deal with. instead of doing what they're supposed to be doing. This video isn't going to turn into a rant about Finecast, but I will just show you some of the issues here that are significant problems. Because obviously the plastic miniatures, most of them, you get a little bit of mould lines, you get a little bit of flash, you can just trim them up, put them together and they're ready to go. But Finecast, because of what it is, you get things like, I'll find them now, she's actually not in a bad state. The underside is a mess, but that is relatively unimportant. This girl, actually, I'm very surprised, doesn't appear to have any bubbles in her, which is good. The only issues here is that the staff is slightly bent and this sword is slightly bent, but those, a bit of hot cold water treatment should be right as rain. So I'm just going to trim off the extra bit that's under here. Finecast, the material that they use is incredibly soft, so it does make trimming it quite easy, but you know, it's Finecast. I'm not going to say that being easy to cut equals yay, it's brilliant, because it's not. It's a nightmare. 90, possibly 99% of the time. See if there's something here that I can give as just a quick example of what's what. Not the best example. One that I put together, I say put together, she was in one piece a while ago. See if I can get this in focus here. Might be able to see that she's actually, I've actually had to resculpt her nose because there was a big bubble that just destroyed her nose, which, yeah, for somebody who's supposed to be a beautiful lady, having a deformed hole in her face where her nose was supposed to be is not particularly good. Anyway, that's that, and that's possibly stuff for another video, so we'll stop that there. Now, will I want it forwards? Up. Straight up. You see here, straight up like this, which is an option with regular knights normally, isn't possible here because the wing obviously gets in the way. So my options here are sort of from this angle down to horizontal. It's going to get in the way there, so I think we'll go for that angle. Yep, I'm going to take the rider off to glue this in place. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a drop of glue on the shoulder joint, but I'm also going to put a little bit of glue on the bottom of the lance there, because that's going to glue to the side here, and it's going to give it a little bit more strength and be a little bit, make it less likely to be damaged, to break off. Sorry about that. Now the torso doesn't fit very snugly on. As I said, with the issues with the shield and the torso, it does mean that the torso doesn't sit very well on the legs there, which is a bit of a nuisance. Looks okay from the back, but what I'm going to do at the front there is, after this video off camera, I'll use a little bit of green stuff just to fill that in, to make that sit a little bit better, because this actually doesn't go together as well as I would like it to. Obviously, even with the torso at that angle, with it tipped up like that, this lance has a little bit of trouble fitting there. It doesn't sit quite snugly, and if the torso was squarer, the lance would have even more trouble fitting, and would really the only viable option would be to have it pointing directly forwards, which would be an issue, because then the tip of the lance would be so close to the Pegasus head that it would be impractical. So there we have, not quite finished. Forgot about this extra little shield down here, and this will sit on his shoulder. So I'm not sure exactly where they are sort of meant to go, but I don't put them on the shoulder from the top, I put them on the shoulder from the side, so that they are on the arm rather than on top of the shoulder. So I'll put them there. Glue on there. Knew that was going to happen. Yeah, it can be a bit of a nightmare when you haven't got the steadiest hands in the world to put these things together. So yeah, there we have the finished knight. He's going to sit nicely on top of the Pegasus there, who will be at some point attached to this base. I'm not going to fix it to the base now, because the plan is to obviously do something with the base that makes it a little bit more than just a flat base. So there is that. So I'll just pick him up here, bring him closer and give you a better look. So there is the fully built Pegasus Knight, and the next time you see him, he may be painted, because I may not do a painting video for this, because obviously there's a lot of detail for this. But yeah, the last thing I'm going to do with this guy for now is, take this off here, put this, just going to see if she is going to fit well on there or not. And I think her leg will tuck down by there, so I only need to trim off the back here, which I'm going to do. Not damage the wings at the same time. I know that the back of the saddle would obviously be quite important for the knight, and actually the knight himself has, and I'll show you now, on his back there is actually this cutout, sort of a square cutout where the back of the saddle would go. So what I'll actually do is use a bit of green stuff to sculpt the back of the saddle onto him, so that when he's on it, it looks like the saddle's there. So yeah, the damsel will sit now. I say she will. Will she? I can see that's going to be a bit of a pain to get that to... She sits right on this side. That side's a problem. She can't tip over like that because then she's unstable. If we trim that... Yep. I know this is a bit off the cuff, guys, it's not exactly well planned, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to trim off the saddle from her here as well, so that she fits better on the Pegasus. And just tidy it up a little bit with the knife. So now she should sit quite nicely there. I say nicely, it's not working as well as I'd hoped. She doesn't fit as well as I'd hoped she would have. But I think maybe we can work with it. So she does look fairly good on there. She doesn't look entirely out of place. It will just be a case of working out how to get her to stay, and I think what I'm going to have to do right there, I think. No. Sorry guys, I know I'm rambling a bit here, but I'm just trying to work out the best place to attach her, because she does need to be fixed. Doesn't want to just sit on there. I think I'm going to have to trim off that top of the saddle here as well. I know I'm doing some cutting here that I may regret. I may just have to resculpt these pieces afterwards if I decide that I'm not actually going to run with this, but I'm going to keep it going for now, just because I would like the option of having my damsel, and I already glued the other one. The funny thing is the other one would fit so much better than she is doing, but yeah, there we go, she's going to fit like that there quite snugly. So what I'm going to do here is just, and again, if this video cuts off mid-sentence or whatever, I apologise, but okay, what we're going to do here is I'm just going to quickly magnetise this so you guys can see what's going on. That was my, I think it's a 1.5mm
So, magnets first, we'll do this so you can see what's going on here. I have in this bag some 2mm magnets. And there's 100 of them here. I only need 2. So there's 2. Just going to drop them down there. I'll drop the rest in the bag there. There we go. I have a metal filing cabinet here, so my magnets are stuck on there. Anyway, so what I'm going to do here is I only need to go in. These magnets are only, I believe, half a millimeter thick, so I only need to drill in half a millimeter here, and I'll just check again that I'm going to be drilling in the right place. Yep. So I'm going to be installing a magnet in her at this point. If I can get the drill bit to bite. As I say, these magnets are only half a millimeter thick, so you don't need much of an indentation, and for this I will be using super glue to attach these magnets. Now, just a quick tip: when you're using magnets, you need one to be kind of like a root magnet that you base the others off. So for example, I'm also going to magnetize the knight, so the magnet that I put in the Pegasus needs to have the correct polarity to both the magnets in the knight and in the damsel. So I'll show you what I'm talking about in a moment. First, I'll get the first magnet in. This super glue is almost out. See if I can eke out a little bit more from here. Oh, that's a bit too much. Never mind, it's the underside. So there's that, and then I have my little magnet, which is going to sit in there, and I don't want to glue my fingers to it, obviously, so be a bit careful there. So that magnet is sitting snugly in there, and I'm just going to put the cap back on there for a second. Drill my hole in here, and obviously with this, because this horse piece it's in 2 pieces, so you do need to be careful. Don't apply too much pressure to the drill bit, because it could catch and splay the 2 halves apart, which is not what you want. So you get a good grip on it. And do be, again, caution, be very careful, and take it easy, take it slow, take it steady, so that you're least likely to cause yourself an injury as possible. I know it's not very good English, but there we go. English people are the worst English speakers in the world. No point messing with a stereotype if you don't need to. There we go. So now with this,
best way that I've found to make sure that my polarities are the right way round and I don't end up gluing a magnet in backwards and then having a problem is that the second magnet, you've got your first magnet already in place. Second magnet, if you drop that onto that magnet, then you can be 100% guaranteed the polarity is correct. Then you can just put a tiny, you need to be careful obviously here that you don't spread glue all over the place, but if you apply the super glue to the magnet, being careful not to glue it to the other magnet of course, then you can line your thing up where it needs to be. So she's in place there. This is being a bit of a pain in the arse. There we go. So I sat her in place. The magnet has gone into the hole that I drilled there. So I'm sure that the polarity is the right way round. I'm just going to push that in to make sure it's firmly in there. There we go. So both the magnets guaranteed to be the correct polarity. When it there we go. So she will now sit quite nicely on there, magnetized. There you go. And obviously now what I'm going to do is magnetize the knight. And when the knight sits on the horse, the magnet is towards the rear there. So yeah, just going to be careful here not to damage what I've already glued together. Being careful here again not to apply too much pressure. And yeah, once this hole is the right depth, which I believe it is, what I'm going to do is the reverse of what I did for the damsel. So I was wrong, I need 3 of these. There we go. And I'm going to put this magnet, which is for the knight, drop this magnet onto the one that's in the pegasus. Apply the super glue to the magnet. And then sit the knight in place so that the magnet goes into now this isn't quite working because he doesn't sit quite flat. That's a bit of a nuisance.
sense. Oh, there we go. So yeah, we've got a bit of an issue here. What I'm going to do is, let's do it this way. I'll just apply a fourth magnet so that it gives it that little bit of extra height that I believe it needs. So these two magnets are going to be glued together, if I can pick this one up. There we go. So those two are going to be glued together, and this one will be glued into the miniature. There we go. I know this isn't the best example, guys, but as you can see there, I've used that magnet to make sure this magnet is the correct polarity, and as you can see, those two magnets being stuck together now mean that it has the extra height for the magnets to be able to connect. Get that. There we go. So this guy is now magnetized onto the Pegasus Knight. There we go. I will just test the damsel here just to make sure she's got the correct. So that's a bit of a pain in itself, because she doesn't. Yeah. Didn't get the hole quite in the right place for her, but it does still hold her a bit. Enough so that she won't just... No, she will just fall off. What's the problem there? Something's catching and holding her out of place. Okay, so I think what I've done there is just put the hole in the wrong place. This is where dry fitting and planning come into play, guys, so that you don't create work for yourself unnecessarily, like I've done here. And obviously I've also, I wouldn't say wasted, but I've used a magnet that I didn't need to use. So there's that, and we're just going to add now. Let's do this the way I told you. Take a magnet, drop it on there so that we make sure the polarity is the right way around. Add the glue to the magnet, and then sit her in place on the magnet so that we are sure that the polarity is the right way around. No mistakes there this time around. So there's that, and she is now magnetized on the Pegasus. So yeah, and once her staff is straightened up, she's not going to be hitting the Pegasus in the head with it there. So she might not look particularly stable to be on a flying mount there, but she will have the option to ride her standard horse as well. So that's just to give me options and to give you guys a quick look at magnetising there. Put this back on here. There we go. So just hold her closer for you to have a quick look. Pegasus Knight with the damsel. Pegasus Knight. There you go. So there's the build video. I'll cut it short here, and fingers crossed this has been successful and everything's still in sync. And yeah, I know this has been long, but this obviously is a build video and you guys have seen everything as it's happened. So there we go. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next one.